This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Good evening, Philippines, and good day, world. It's Tuesday, November 21, 2023, and you're watching Newsline World. I'm Jayne Codnita. We will bring you the top stories we've gathered from all over the globe. First, former President Rodrigo Duterte believes that Ukraine was left hanging by its backers despite its ongoing conflict with Russia. In the Israel-Hamas war, Hamas Chief Ismail Haniyeh said that the truce with Israel is coming to a close. Economic bloc BRICS is set to hold an emergency summit dedicated to the conflict between Israel and Palestine, but Indian Prime Minister Modi will be represented by his foreign minister instead. The world's largest tropical wetland, Brazil's Pantanal, is burning due to wildfires ravaging the vast lands. And China and 5 other ASEAN countries are set to conclude their joint military exercises, the Aman Youyi. These and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World. Former President Rodrigo Duterte believes that Ukraine was been left hanging amid its fight against Russian forces. Former President Duterte and Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy also drew a comparison between the situation in Ukraine and the rising tensions in the disputed waters of the West Philippine Sea. Jade Calabroso reports.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte believes that Ukraine has been left hanging, even though the conflict between Ukraine and Russia is not yet over. In the latest episode of Gikat sa Masa para sa Masa, with Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, the former president warned that if Ukraine is defeated, the situation for neighboring countries, which are also members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO, would be perilous.
Alam mo, si Putin naman, ninenervyos kasi Ukraine and Russia nakadikit yan.
Yeah,
it's just a thin line boundary.
Oh.
Kagaya ng ating China Sea dyan pati ano. So, in his maybe insecurity na talagang ano, or just also to challenge the might of the Americans, he purposely invaded Ukraine. Now, Ukraine was helped by America early on sa itong panggulong ito. Kasi sila rin yung nag-udyok eh. Join NATO. Nag-init itong si Putin. Ngayon, sinusuportahan nila.
To recall, on November 16, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky admitted that his country has received fewer artillery rounds since the outbreak of the war between Israel and Hamas on October 7. According to Zelensky, the competition for receiving munitions from the U.S. has intensified between Ukraine and Israel. On November 18, Zelensky's presidential aide, Mikhailo Podolyak, complained about the slow delivery of Western weapons and admitted that Ukraine's counteroffensive operations against Russia is probably not proceeding to the extent or at the speed they would like. Meanwhile, the U.S. Congress has failed to advance discussions on a new funding bill for Ukraine.
Ngayon, suddenly, in the thick of the fight, or pag ano na siso na ang sitwasyon sa Ukraine, pati, parang nagbigla na lang ang Amerika, wala kaming budget na. For anybody, for that matter, wala na kami. Basta. So, naiwan sa area ngayon ang Ukraine. Ukraine has to fight and finance the war. I don't know from what source. Sana tulungan sila ng European countries. But if Ukraine falls, then Poland, Finland, doon sa Scandinavian countries, medyo
delikado sila.
Meanwhile, the situation in Ukraine is compared to the tension brewing in the West Philippine Sea. And due to the ongoing global turmoil, former President Duterte believes that the United States cannot be relied upon in case a conflict breaks out.
So, itong Amerika, well, they hindi naman pretend kasi talagang gumagastos, pero At what time would they abandon you? That is the problem. So you cannot rely. Kaya nitong
Ganis na.
nag-usap na si Biden pati si Jinping. Pagka nagkagulo dito, can we call upon the America forces to join the fray here?
Oo.
Yan ang problema.
Nagkasundo na
Dahil sabihin naman ang Amerika, maliit na bagay yan, boundary lang yan. Bakit kami may kaalam? Magkaibigan na kami. No? Yan ang problema. That is how
it's playing.
How life
Yes.
makes it turn around.
Pare sa Ukraine.
Careful ka talaga ka dyan.
Meanwhile, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy praised the foreign policy of former President Duterte towards China and again compared the diplomacy of the Philippines and the United States with that of China.
So, in your administration, you made a very wise move to not agitate or anything that will exacerbate the trouble. Naging kaibigan pa natin si Xi Jinping. At it has become a blessing to us na ngayon dinedemonize nitong mga ibang mga leader natin. Yung iba naman, tulad kay Biden, when Xi Jinping went to attend the APEC, royal welcome sa Amerika. Governor Newsom of California, napaka-royal welcome kay Xi Jinping, si President Biden, invite siya silang dalawa. Ito namang sa atin, we are making a belligerent move against China and Xi Jinping. So, ito nga yung laro ng geopolitics.
Meanwhile, former President Duterte has a message for President Bongbong Marcos regarding the issue in the West Philippine Sea.
Mr. President, if you want your citizens to fish there, go ahead. Yung maraming mga isda dyan Kulawak yung ni Pilipino mga isda rin. Paano lang? Pulang away? Because what is on the other side of the table? It's war. We simply cannot afford it. So, manggaling talaga sa atin at kung baba. Kaya ako, istorya lang.
It can be remembered that PBBM and Chinese President Xi Jinping met on the sidelines of the APEC summit, where the two presidents agreed that the problems regarding South China Sea should not be the defining element of the relationship between the Philippines and China. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Jade Calabroso, SMNA News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin will join an emergency BRICS summit with other leaders of the economic bloc to talk about the ongoing escalation between Israel and Hamas. This was said by the Kremlin, although it did not provide further details about the upcoming event. To recall, on Monday, the office of the South Africa President, Cyril Ramaphosa, said that he will chair an extraordinary joint meeting regarding the current situation in the Gaza Strip. BRICS include Russia, China, Brazil, and India, with South Africa as the current chair of the economic bloc. Meanwhile, leaders of Saudi Arabia, Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates were also invited to join the emergency summit. UN Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez will join the meeting as well. Meanwhile, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will not be attending the summit, citing other commitments. Modi will instead be represented by Indian Foreign Minister Subramanyam Jaishankar. On the other hand, the Indian Prime Minister will be hosting the virtual G20 Leaders Summit as the presidency of India in the bloc ends in December. Russian President Vladimir Putin is expected to participate, while U.S. President Joe Biden is likely to miss the event, as said by the U.S. envoy in India, Eric Garcetti. The joint military drills between China and 5 other Southeast Asian nations are set to end this week. Soldiers from participating countries underwent multi-course maritime training during the 10-day exercise. Anissa de Guzman has the details.
The ongoing Aman Youyi 2023 multinational joint exercise progressed this week with participating troops completing land and sea-based drills focused on counter-terrorism and maritime security. Troops from China and the 5 ASEAN member countries of Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos have gathered off the coast of Xinjiang in South China's Guangdong province since last week. The drill started the week with anti-terrorist operations wherein participating military personnel engaged in a role-playing scenario on a city surrounded by terrorists and took civilians as hostages. The role-play involved an air assault team and 2 helicopters and focused on how the troops would respond in this kind of scenario while enhancing their combat-ready capabilities. Besides training, the soldiers were also involved in discussions and in-depth exchanges where they had the chance to share their thoughts and experiences ranging from the use of weapons, personal formation, and tactical maneuvers, to name a few. Aman Youyi, a combination of the Malay word for peace and the Chinese word for friendship, aims to build friendship and strengthen military ties between China and its neighboring nations at a time when Beijing and Washington race for greater influence in the region. In April, more than 17,600 members of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, AFP, and the U.S. military participated in the 2023 Balikatan exercise amid Washington's attempt to increase its military presence in the Asia-Pacific region. The drill started on November 13 and ended on November 22. Reporting, Anissa de Guzman, SMNI News.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has returned to the Philippines from his official engagements in the United States. The president also enthusiastically reported that his trip to the country was productive and he was able to reap hundreds of millions in investment pledges. Creseline Catarong has the details.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has returned to the Philippines from his successful participation in the 30th Economic Leaders Meeting in San Francisco, California, and his working visits to Los Angeles, California, and Honolulu, Hawaii. In his arrival statement on Monday night at Villamor Air Base, Pasay City, PBBM expressed high hopes that the trip would bring peace, stability, and prosperity not only to the Philippines, but also to the entire Indo-Pacific region. On October 14th, President Marcos and his delegation left the country for a 6-day official trip to the U.S. to attend the 30th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting and 2nd IPEF Leaders Meeting. Marcos also held separate meetings with President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China, Peruvian President Dina Ercilia Boluarte Zegarra, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, and U.S. Indo-PACOM Commander Admiral John Aquilino. Marcos stated that their discussions were productive, focusing on innovation, resilience, sustainability, and inclusiveness. These themes were supported by their commitment to strengthen cooperation and address common challenges in both economic and security aspects.
Our discussions were, of course, very productive, with innovation, resilience, sustainability, and inclusiveness as cross-cutting themes that are buttressed by our commitment to further strengthening cooperation and to address challenges that are common to all our economies, both economic challenges and security challenges.
At the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting in San Francisco, President Marcos advocated priorities such as clean, fair, accessible, and affordable energy. The chief executive also pushed for food security, health system, digitalization, and digital transformation, including the digital inclusion of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises or MSMEs, and climate action through regional cooperation. During the trip, the Philippines and the U.S. signed the Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement, paving the way for potential nuclear power projects with American providers and streamlining licensing requirements for the private sector concerning investments in nuclear-related intangible transfers of technology while ensuring the highest standards of safety, security, and safeguards.
One of the most important is the signing of the so-called 1-2-3 agreement, which is a civil nuclear cooperation agreement with the United States. This paves the way for potential nuclear power projects with American providers, as well as for streamlining licensing requirements for the private sector with respect to investments on nuclear-related intangible transfers of technology, while ensuring the highest standards of safety, security, and safeguards.
The two countries also signed the IPEF supply chain agreement, serving as a mechanism to improve the transparency of the supply chain. The delegation also met with several U.S. companies seeking entry into the Philippines market and expanding their current presence and operations in the country. The Philippines also concluded various public, private, and private sector agreements with U.S. companies. These include Atmo for an AI-powered weather forecasting system and the Chinese and Orbits Corporation to provide a reliable internet connection in underserviced areas lacking service in the country.
This $400 million partnership will be a catalyst for economic growth and digital transformation in the energy sector. Essentially, what that project is about is that now the Philippines is launching a satellite dedicated for the Philippines alone. And this is for communication, and this will increase the coverage of the coverage of our internet providers. And by the way, we named the satellite Aguila.
Various meetings were also held for expected investments in the energy, pharmaceutical, and healthcare sectors. In total, the Philippine delegation brought home approximately $670 million in investment pledges, potentially creating thousands of jobs for Filipinos within the country. The chief executive also engaged with the Filipino community in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Hawaii. President Marcos concluded his visit with a speaking engagement at the Daniel K. Inouye Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies, where he shared his reflections on the region's most critical challenges. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Cresceline Catarong, SMNI News.
Raging wildfires are burning the world's largest tropical wetland in Brazil as firefighters work day and night to tackle the blazes. Natalia Prado will give us more details of this story live. Natalia.
Yes, Jane, parts of Pantanal wetlands, the western Brazil, are slowly being reduced to ashes as an extreme heat wave severely threatens the existence of precious wildlife in the area.
Brazil's National Institute for Space Research detected 3,380 fires in the Pantanal in the first 70 days of November, compared to 69 in the same period last year. Famed as a paradise of biodiversity, Pantanal is home to 2,000 of plant and animal species, including 159 mammals. On normal days, tourists flock to the area to witness its flourishing ecotourism industry. But weeks of massive wildfires transform a huge part of Pantanal in Encontro das Águas State Park, known for its large jaguar population, from emerald green to brown after a month of wildfires burned the area.
A gente está aqui na região do Parque Estadual Encontro das Águas. Essa região toda que vocês estão vendo é o parque, foi completamente consumido pelo fogo. Tem um cervo do Pantanal com as patas queimadas aqui, a gente está monitorando para escolher a melhor maneira de capturá-lo. E ali atrás a gente vê a cortina de fogo imensa. E esse é um dos grandes focos que está indo em direção ao outro que está vindo do Parque Nacional. Eles devem se encontrar próximo da Transpantaneira e a gente vai ver uma cena bem parecida com o que a gente viveu em 2020. Esse é o resultado dos incêndios aqui no Parque Estadual Encontro das Águas, no Pantanal Norte.
Experts have called for more effective measures to protect the world's largest tropical wetland.
Jane, experts link the frequent fires to the impact of climate change and warn that the persistent wildfires will be the new normal, not just in the Pantanal but also in the different parts of the world.
Thank you, Natalia, for that live report. Meanwhile, former President Rodrigo Duterte gave his statements regarding the planned impeachment complaint against his daughter. Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte. Hannah Jane Sancho reports.
Tingin ko wala namang iba, it's all politics. There as yet of no finding of any culpable violation of the Constitution.
This was the response of former President Rodrigo Duterte regarding the alleged impeachment complaint against Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte. To recall, former CBP NPA NDF cadre Jeffrey K. Eric Celis on SMNI's program Laban Kasama ang Bayan revealed that the congressman of Makabayan Bloc is allegedly planning to file an impeachment complaint against VP Sara. This is also related to the alleged swift spending of the Office of the Vice President's 125 million confidential funds given by the Office of the President in December 2022, which has also been questioned by some groups in the Supreme Court. To this, former President Duterte in his Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa program on SMNI said there should be an investigation to determine if there was any anomaly in the spending of the Vice President from the said fund. FPRRD emphasized that he sees nothing wrong with the actions of both President Bongbong Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte.
But the fact is, they should have initiated an investigation to find out whether there was a misuse of the funds yung previously granted by President Marcos, binaba niya doon sa Office of the Vice President. Alam mo, tama si Marcos at tama si Inday. Because aside from being the Vice President officially, si Inday ginawa ng Vice Chairman ni President Marcos, designated her as a Vice Chair sa
NTF.
Itong
NTF
LCAC.
Duterte also pointed out that those who are questioning the intelligence funds requested by the OVP overlook certain factors.
And again, siyempre, bagong administrasyon, the President designated the Vice President as the Vice Chair ng LCAC. So yun ang dahilan na one of the things also that na-overlook ng members ng Congress in denying or questioning the intelligence fund of the Vice President.
And when asked about CIF, this is what FPRRD replied.
If ako yung presidente, hindi, not necessarily yung anak ko yung Vice President. If I designate the Vice President sa ganung trabaho, I would give him about about 500 million. It's not easy to, I said, kailangan kasi ng soft landing itong ROTC. It's a moribund thing kasi hindi na compulsory. For so many years, ayaw na ng mga bata na sumali dyan sa ROTC because it is a military training and most of the guys, itong mga bata, it's a Saturday affair.
Regarding the House leadership putting the CIF in the 2024 proposed budget of the OVP, it will just be questioned, former President Duterte said.
Alam mo, ang hilingi ko lang man sa kanila is yung respeto.
Fairness.
Kung ayaw pala nila ibigay, bakit nila nilagay doon sa proposed budget? Di tinawagan na lang sana nila yung anak ko. Sabi niya, Inday, hindi man pwede ito kasi yung mga left.
As for Duterte's comment to the lower chamber of Congress.
Yung binigay ni Marcos, yun ang dapat i-audit. I-audit mo muna at tingnan mo kung may mali, nagastos ba na pribado na kamay o para talaga sa gobyerno. Then you go to impeachment. You cannot go into a guessing game na basta na lang impeach. For what? intelligence man, binigay sa iyo eh. Bakit ibigay mo sa akin kung hindi ko gastusin?
Former President Duterte also gave a warning to those who want to oust VP Sara.
Papilitan ako. It's either I run for senator or I will run for vice president. Baski matanda.
It can be noted that in a media forum, President Bongbong Marcos defended Vice President Sara against those who want to impeach her and said that the Vice President does not deserve to be impeached. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News.
China and Australia have engaged in a war of words over a recent maritime incident that happened a few weeks after the Australian Prime Minister made a landmark visit to Beijing. Deva Suarez reports.
China, for the first time, responded to Australia's accusations of targeting Australian Navy personnel with sonar pulse last week. Chinese experts refuted the claim as vague and one-sided. Australia accused the Chinese Navy of causing minor injuries to Australian naval divers by activating its sonar while personnel of the HMAS Toowoomba, an anti-class frigate of the Royal Australian Navy, conducted diving operations in order to clear fishing nets that had become entangled around its propellers on November 14. Defence Minister Richard Marles and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese described the incident as dangerous, unsafe and unprofessional. On Sunday, China responded to the issue for the first time through its official mouthpiece, Global Times, where it described Australia's statement as vague and one-sided. Chinese experts called out Australian officials for promoting the China threat theory and widely questioned the location of the incident provided in the press release. According to a Chinese naval expert, Australia claimed the incident happened in Japan's exclusive economic zone, but refused to reveal the exact location, indicating the incident could have happened in waters administered by China and that the Australian warship could have provoked China in the first place. Analysts also pointed out that Australia admitted in a press release that both sides were able to establish communications but failed to mention what Chinese officials exactly said during the confrontation, which are likely verbal warnings the Australian ship had ignored, and forced the Chinese ship to take proper action by sending a warning through sonar. The latest spat happened 2 weeks after Albanese held talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping in an attempt to settle differences with Australia's largest trading partner and end years of trade war that affected billions of dollars in Australian exports. Reporting from New South Wales, this is Devi Suarez, SMNI News, Australia.
China has issued a warning to South Korea for its interference in the South China Sea issue, insisting that it knows its responsibilities in how to resolve the maritime dispute. Kim Sang has the details.
China has warned South Korea for involving itself in the South China Sea issue. For Beijing, there is no need for Seoul to question or intervene in the matter, as Beijing is aware of its own responsibilities and the appropriate resolution methods.
作为负责任大国，中方一直在国际地区事务中发挥着重要的建设性作用。中方清楚自己的责任和利益，我们做什么和不做什么，不需要别人指手画脚。
Mao Ning, the spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, said that China, as a responsible nation, plays a crucial role in international and regional affairs. The spokesperson also emphasized that the Taiwan issue pertains solely to the country's internal affairs and is unrelated to external forces.
台湾问题纯属中国内政，绝不允许任何外部势力干涉。 关于南海问题，中国和东盟国家有能力、有信心、有智慧处理好这个问题。韩国不是南海问题的当事方，没有必要凑热闹。
Mao stated that the Taiwan issue is purely China's internal affair, and regarding the South China Sea, China and the Southeast Asian countries have the capability, confidence, and wisdom to manage it effectively.
China stressed that South Korea is not a relevant party to the question, and there is no need for it to involve itself in the country's issues. Solisubugo Kim Sang-imnida, SMNI News, South Korea.
China's foreign ministry said that the United States and Japan should restrain their moves that exacerbate the momentum of an arms race. The details with Ria Saito.
Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning said that the U.S. and Japan should restrain their moves that exacerbate the momentum of an arms race and stay prudent on military and security issues. She also said that China is concerned over relevant developments in recent years.
我们对有关动向表示关切。近年来，美国为了谋求单方面的军事优势，不断强化与盟国的军事合作，纵容支持日方一步一步地突破和平宪法，在强军扩武的道路上越走越远。美日有关举动加剧军备竞赛势头，冲击地区和平与安全，严重破坏全球战略平衡与稳定，损害以国际法为基础的国际秩序。由于历史原因，日本的军事安全动向一直备受国际社会和亚洲邻国关注。美国和日本应当尊重亚洲国家的安全关切，在军事安全领域谨言慎行。
According to Mao, the United States is strengthening its military cooperation with allied countries, allowing and supporting Japan to violate its responsibilities under the pacifist constitution. The Chinese spokesperson said that the actions of the U.S. and Japan only intensify the momentum of the arms race, affecting peace and stability in the region, which also seriously disturbs the global strategic balance and stability that underpins international law. Mao added that the military moves of Japan are closely monitored by neighboring Asian countries and the international community. She then urged the United States and Japan to respect the security concerns of Asian countries and be cautious in their words and actions on military and security issues. 以上、日本から世界ニュースとしました。ASEAN News Japan.
The death toll from the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine has exceeded 14,700 according to the official data released by both sides. According to the media office of Hamas, more than 13,300 people in Gaza Strip have been killed since Hamas attacked Israel on October 7. The death toll includes 5,600 Palestinian children and more than 3,550 women. The Palestinian Health Ministry said that in the West Bank, more than 215 people have been killed in the conflict as of Sunday night, with more than 2,800 others injured. Meanwhile, the Israeli side showed that around 1,200 people have been killed. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said on Monday that at least 1.7 million people have been displaced within the Gaza Strip due to the ongoing conflict. Nearly 900,000 displaced people are sheltered in at least 154 installations of the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, or UNRWA, as said by the UN office. In a significant development, the leader of Hamas has announced that the group is nearing a truce agreement with Israel, raising hopes for a potential pause in hostilities in Gaza and the release of hostages. Alisa Torres tells us more.
Hamas Chief Ismail Haniyeh claims that a truce agreement with Israel was in sight, but failed to provide further details of the potential deal. Meanwhile, a CCTV report citing a senior Israeli official said the two sides were very close to a deal for the release of some hostages in Gaza later on the day. The Israeli official also noted there are still technical issues to resolve, and at least 50 people will be freed based on the agreement, while dozens more could be released in exchange for extending a ceasefire beyond the initial few days. Those to be released are expected to be children, their mothers, and other women. Earlier, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that his country would not cease fighting until the hostages were safely brought home. Currently, there are over 240 hostages held captive by Hamas during the October 7 attacks against Israel. On the other hand, reports citing a Qatari mediator involved in the negotiations mentioned that talks are currently at the closest point to reaching an agreement since the conflict began. To recall, U.S. President Joe Biden on Monday expressed his belief that a deal is close, with the White House indicating the possibility of temporary pauses in fighting to facilitate the safe release of hostages. U.S. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby reiterated at the briefing that the administration believes it's quote-unquote closer than we've ever been, but said there are no updates to publicly discuss. Reporting, this has been Alisa Torres, SMNI News.
Foreign ministers from Arab and Muslim nations visited China to promote de-escalation of the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Melchizedek Cadiz for the details.
Top foreign policy officials from Arab and Islamic countries arrived in China for a two-day visit. The high-level delegation include foreign ministers of the Palestinian Authority, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, and Indonesia, as well as the Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The foreign ministers will discuss with Chinese officials ways to promote the cooling of tensions between Israel and Hamas, the protection of civilians, and the settlement of the Palestinian issue. The foreign ministers will visit China from November 20th to 21st. Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud confirmed the visit, which started in China and later expanded to other countries in an aim to exert international pressure of achieving a ceasefire.
ستبدأ بإذن الله يوم الاثنين. المحطة الأولى ستكون في الصين، وسننتقل بعدها إلى عدد من العواصم لإيصال الرسالة الواضحة أن لا بد من وقف لإطلاق النار فورا، ولا بد من إدخال المساعدات والاحتياجات الإنسانية إلى غزة فورا كذلك، وأيضا لا بد أن نعمل لإنهاء هذه الأزمة وإنهاء هذه الحرب التي تشن على غزة في أسرع وقت.
Reporting this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.
More news when Newsline World returns.
Hanap mo ba ay food cart business at magsimula ng sariling negosyo na hindi kinakailangan ng franchise fee? Mura at abot kayang halaga? Narito ang S&D Food Carts para sa iyo. Ang S&D Food Carts ay gumagawa at nagsusupply ng mga mura at abot kayang halaga ng mga food stalls, bike carts, motor carts, kiosk, food van, mall carts, display racks, tables, chairs, at iba't ibang wood and metal products. Subok na matibay, maaasahan at mapagkakatiwalaan. Ang S&D Food Carts ay mayroong Luzon at Mindanao branch na pwede ninyong lapitan para sa negosyong swak na swak. S&D Food Cart, your partner to success.
The healthy way to lose weight. Edmark's Power 4 Slimming Program. Step 1. Detoxify with Edmark Shake Off in pandan and lemon flavor. Fast, effective colon cleansing. See result after 6 hours. Step 2. Burn fat and nourish with Edmark's Meal Replacement Therapy. Organic formulation with low calorie, balanced nutrition, aids in losing weight and burns fat. Step 3. Balance and cleanse with Edmark's Plena Liquid Chlorophyll. Purifies the blood and balances pH. Step 4. Rejuvenate with Edmark's Ginseng Coffee. Energy booster, lowers blood pressure and memory enhancer. And Red Yeast Coffee. Cholesterol buster. Anti-aging and prevents heart disease. Edmark Pasay franchise located at Empire Center, ground floor, EDSA Extension, Pasay City. For inquiries, contact Miss Bing at 0995-480-1026.
Stay with Edmark. Feel good now.
Kabayan! Oo, ikaw. Alam mo ba na you can win lots of prizes when you bring home a guest in the Philippines? The Department of Tourism brings you the Visita Be My Guest program. Joining is easy. 1. Sign up as a sponsor. You can do this via the official BBMG website. All Filipinos of legal age living in the Philippines or abroad can join. 2. Invite your guests. The more you invite, the more chances of winning. And 3. Travel to the Philippines and upload your proof of travel to complete the registration process and earn e-raffle tickets and the BBMG travel passport and privilege card that you can use to get discounts as you travel around our award-winning destinations in the Philippines. Join now and get a chance to win in any of the 3 raffle dates in 2023. So what are you waiting for? Come home and bring your guests to the Philippines. Sign up, invite friends and family, and travel to the world's leading beach and dive destination and the world's leading country destination for tourism, the Philippines. Visita Be My Guest in the Philippines.
Kalimutan Festival, Sultan Kudarat. Mark your calendars. Join the fun.
We're inviting everyone to visit us in the province of Sultan Kudarat, especially for our Kalimutan Festival. Na ito po ay magaganap sa November 17 to November 22. We have prepared a lot of festivities and activities for everyone. Buhay po tayong lahat. At happy Kalimutan Festival, mga kababayan.
We don't need to explain, because truth needs no justification. We are not afraid, because the truth will always win. When we ask questions, it's always for the good of all. We question to build, not to break. We question to clarify, not to confuse. We question to protect, not hurt. Truth hurts, but it heals. Tune in to SMNI, where truth is free. SMNI, defining true press freedom.
To our news, speculations are arising about who aspires to become the country's president in 2028. And former President Rodrigo Duterte has responded. Meanwhile, House Majority Leader and Zamboanga City District Representative Manix Dalipe have been reminded to be cautious in his statements. Carlo de la Peña reports.
The 2028 presidential election is still far away. There are already many speculations about who aspires to become the chief executive of the country. The issue gained attention due to the confidential funds requested by Vice President Sara Duterte for the office of the Vice President and the Education Department, but VP Sara later withdrew her request. House Speaker Martin Romualdez also implicated due to alleged alliances with leftist groups and his rumored presidential ambitions in 2028. Although he denied these claims. However, in his program Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa, former President Rodrigo Duterte once again addressed this issue.
Magkano na ang binigay ni Speaker sa inyong mga left? Kasi baka yung pera na binigay sa inyong extra sa inyong mga salary, yung mga projects, yung tawag nilang pork barrel. Yan ang dapat malaman ng Pilipino. Ngayon, gusto ko nga malaman, sabi ko nga, open the books. Yan ang gusto kong tignan kung magkano na ang nakuha ninyo sa gobyerno na naibigay sa kamay ninyo. Gusto namin tignan kasi, binigay ninyo sa NPA, walang sweldo yan sila eh.
To recall, the former president said that the police and military ranks should be watched closely as they also have their own stance when it comes to national security. But this was criticized by House Majority Leader and Zamboanga City District Representative Manuel Jose Manix Dalipe, who called on the former president not to involve the police and military in what he called partisan intrigues that could challenge their profession.
Ito si Dalipe, you are maybe short-sighted or whatever. Alam mo, Adre, Manix, dumaan ako pagka mayor. Hindi naman ako nagyayabang. 23 years. Daan ako ng congressman. Kagaya mo, no. It is not an intrigue. Gusto talaga malami ng AEP. Hindi lang nila makasabi ang sundalo eh. Silent lang yan sila. Pero pinag-uusapan namin yan kasi ex-president ako. Do not be so onion-skinned. We have every right to ask or demand or say where are the money for the people.
As Vice Chairman of National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict or NTF-LCAC and Education Secretary, Vice President Inday Sara aims to put an end to insurgency in the country. But she has previously stated that she has no ambition to become president. Meanwhile, Dalipe earlier said that it's too early to discuss the supposed ambition of House Speaker Romualdez to run for president. To this, former president advised Dalipe to be careful with his words.
Alam mo, kayo, Dalipe, and company, remember this. The presidency is God-given. Yan rin ang sinabi ko kay Inday. Hindi ko nga alam bakit ako na presidente hanggang ngayon, anak mo. Totoo. Hindi mo talaga wala akong pera, wala akong ano. Basta God will eliminate the others to pave the way for His chosen.
Yes.
God-given talaga yung leadership. Yes. So, Adre, magdandahan ka lang. I know that you are the mouthpiece, so be careful of what you utter. It might not really be politically correct.
For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Hundreds of former government adversaries have received support from the national government through TESDA. MJ Mondejar tells us more.
In 2021, Dindo, a former recruiter of the New People's Army or NPA, returned to the fold of the Philippine government. His area of operation included Sultan Kudarat, Maguindanao, Sarangani, and nearby areas. His preferred recruitment targets were the indigenous people residing in the mountains.
Ginagamit po nila yung kakulangan ng gobyerno, sir. Una-una doon yung edukasyon, libreng hospitalisasyon, at yung mga daan doon sa mga remote na area na hindi makadating yung tulong ng gobyerno, sir.
Dindo is just one of the hundreds of former rebels who are now being educated and trained for free by the government. In fact, they completed the Organic Agriculture Production NC2 course with the help of the Technical Skills and Development Authority or TESDA. Upon his return to Sultan Kudarat, TESDA Chief Suharto Temang Udadatu emphasized that 75 former rebels are now eligible to work abroad because they hold an NC2.
Yes, that's a license for locally and for abroad. Kaya binibigyan namin ng MOA with the price base and that's the base para maintindihan nila pag i-hire sila for starboard, the construction, yung mahal nila na carpenter, tala expert na.
The Sultan Kudarat provincial government has also granted cash assistance of 20,000 pesos each to over 130 former rebels from the indigenous community. The province remains peaceful due to good governance.
Tayo po ay nakapamahagi ng 20,000 each. Ngayon, nakapag-graduate na po sila ng TESDA courses. Alinsunod po ito sa ating vision na talaga magkaroon ng transformation at magkaroon sila ng mas magandang buhay.
TESDA also distributed farm machinery to over 400 beneficiaries in various parts of the province. The assistance recipients are a result of the NTF-ELCAC or EO-70 by former President Rodrigo Duterte. They are also a product of EO-79 by the former president, or the annex of normalization to the Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro. The EO ensures that residents in the Bangsamoro region have a decent and peaceful life. These programs are continued now by President Bongbong Marcos Jr.
Alam po ninyo, ang ating mga presidente ay gusto talaga niyang abutin at babangon na sabay-sabay ang buong sambayanan ng Pilipino sa Pilipinas. Kaya doon sa mga dating rebelde po at doon sa mga out-of-school youth ay binibigyan natin ang oportunidad na magkaroon po sila ng training under the TESDA program.
Sa pangalan ng mga lumad, mga AP, kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa pamahalaan na binigyan po kami ng pagkakataon magbagong buhay.
This is Secretary Bangudadatu's first visit to Sultan Kudarat as TESDA chief. He was a former governor of the province and a former congressman. Upon his homecoming, he was welcomed by the capital employees before heading out to distribute aid to former rebels. There was also a children's congress in the province in solidarity with the Children's Month.
For Government of Philippines, I'm Jay Mondihar, SMNI News.
The government of Thailand is considering extending visa-free stays for European visitors for up to 90 days to boost further its tourism industry and hit its 25 million target by the end of the year. Chatmongkod Pisamay Guson has the news.
Thailand's Ministry of Tourism is planning to propose extending the visa exemption period for some nationalities to encourage them to stay longer.
20% of foreigners who visited Thailand this year were Europeans and formed the second largest group after ASEANs. In 2022, the Europeans spent an average of 66,000 baht per trip, but their spending has increased to 80,000 baht for this year. In 2019, 11 million out of 39.9 million visitors who visited Thailand were Europeans. Thai Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin promised to prioritize tourism as part of his national policy campaign and focus on building a sustainable economy for Thailand. Srettha also denied inviting Chinese police for joint patrols in Thailand to attract more visitors from China and build public confidence after the proposal received massive criticism. In early October, a teenage boy opened fire at one of the most popular shopping malls in Bangkok in early October, killing 2 people and injuring 5 others, including 2 Chinese tourists. The government announced plans to organize 3,000 events like music concerts, marathons, and other cultural festivities through the next year to lure more foreign tourists.
The government increased its revenue target to 3.5 trillion baht for 2024 and believes Thailand tourism sector can fully recover to pre-COVID levels during that period. รายงานจากราชบุรี นายชัดมงคล พิสมัยโกศล SMN News ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
A lawmaker is pushing for changes to the National Commission for Senior Citizens. More of this from Jade Calabroso.
United Senior Citizens Party List Representative Milagros Aquino Magsaysay is urging for the swift approval of her proposed law seeking to amend Republic Act No. 11350, also known as the National Commission of Senior Citizens Act. She asserts that the NCSC has not demonstrated the capacity to fulfill responsibilities and duties regarding the senior citizen sector. Under House Bill 9454, Magsaysay aims to strengthen the current law and maximize its effectiveness for the benefit of senior citizens, providing clearer guidance on the original intent of the law.
Pina-amend ko kasi yung sa National Commission kasi medyo maraming hindi maliwanag doon. So kagaya na structural organization nila, yung mga kaya hanggang ngayon hindi pa sila talaga functional. Kasi unang-una walang pondo.
Currently under the Office of the President, the proposed law places the NCSC under the Department of Social Welfare and Development with the mandate to establish field offices nationwide.
Sabi ko, kung ang ang DSWD kako na kumpleto sila na opisina up to the municipal kako nahihirapan pa sila na magbigay ng social pension kako na nadidelay pa what more kako kung 8 cluster lang na region, they cannot function and they cannot do their job well kako. Kaya bigyan natin sila ng pondo for at least man lang we can start with 17 regions kako, and na lang pag let's say 12 lang yung empleyado doon sa region, pwede silang mag-assign sa mga municipal to do to give the social pension. Oo, saka yung mga other programs for senior citizen, kagaya naman centenarian, mga
The proposed law also requires NCSC to develop a comprehensive national plan for the social protection of senior citizens, including the establishment of a national database for profiling and referral. Under Section 8, with the approval of the Department of Budget and Management, the Commission will have a structured organization, staffing pattern, offices, divisions or units absorbing responsibilities from the DSWD and addressing new concerns. In the proposed amendment, the Commission is authorized to receive grants, donations, contributions, or gifts not covered by current laws. Based on National Commission of Senior Citizens data, there are over 3.4 million registered senior citizens in the country. Congresswoman Magsaysay hopes for the passage of her proposed law in the coming year. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Jade Calabroso, SMNA News.
Senator Alan Peter Cayetano is pushing for a multi-year budget for the Commission on Elections in preparation for the 2025 polls. Sigrid Castañeda tells us more.
I was wondering, will we be giving COMELEC all they need this year so that hindi nila kailangan hintayin pa January 2025 at saka palang ibid ang lahat ng kailangan nila?
Senator Alan Peter Cayetano on Monday said the Commission on Elections should be given a 2- or 3-year budget to allow for early preparation for the 2025 elections. During the plenary debate on COMELEC's proposed 2024 budget, Cayetano said operating on a yearly budget makes it hard for the Commission to fully prepare for elections, particularly the 2025 midterm polls, which he said will be very, very important for our country. According to the independent senator, a yearly budget means that COMELEC cannot prepare for midterm elections 2 years from now.
It's very difficult really to finish the budget signed by the President around December, January magsa-start, and then ang election ay Mayo.
He said, in contrast, the COMELEC was able to hold a general, peaceful and fair barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections because, aside from political will, there was ample time to prepare due to the postponements and the fact that it was held in October, many months after the effectivity of the 2023 national budget. Cayetano said that the government must also take into account some possible disruptions. According to the COMELEC, a total of 5.96 billion pesos more is needed to procure all materials needed in preparation for the midterm elections in 2025, in which new senators, members of Congress, and local government officials will be elected. Cayetano urged fellow senators to find an innovative but legal way of providing the Commission all it needs this year so that the whole body will not have to wait for January 2025 before it bids out what it needs to hold the polls.
I wonder if we can consider something like that for COMELEC. So meaning if they need 5.6 billion but we only gave them 3 billion this year, but we're assuring them that we will give them the 2.6 billion in January 2025. Can they bid out the whole 5.6 billion
earlier
para in January 2025? Hindi na nila inaalala yung administrative side ng procurement.
Senator Amy Marcos, who sponsored COMELEC's budget on the plenary floor, agreed with the independent senator's observations, saying a 3-year budget cycle is more appropriate given that the country has a 3-year election cycle.
The problems that the 1-year cycle produce are very, very evident in the construction of the COMELEC building. Tapos sobrang liit yung unang release, hindi makapag-mobilize, and so on and on. Hindi nagamit yung pera, ibabalik na ulit. So, it's grossly inefficient, in fact.
Cayetano said he's looking forward to the suggestion being explored during the National Budget's bicameral conference to be held in the last week of November. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Sigrid Castañeda as MNI News.
The new head of the Department of Agriculture guarantees under his leadership that last year's onion price surge will not happen again. Jayne Codnita reports.
In the last quarter of 2022, many were surprised when onion prices reached 700 pesos per kilo in markets nationwide, surpassing meat prices. The new head of the Department of Agriculture is determined to prevent a recurrence under his leadership. In his first appearance before the House Committee on Agriculture and Food regarding the food supply situation in the country, Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. assures that they will continue to monitor onion prices and take steps to avoid a repeat of the past.
So, we will hold you to this, itong onion for December. We were assured last year, just for the information of the good secretary, by August, we were 114% self-sufficient sa onion nun. But unfortunately, pagdating ng December, ang laki pala ng discrepancy.
I confirm that the price of sibuyas pula today is 140. Today, and sibuyas puti is 110. And I'm closely monitoring this, and we will do action para hindi na mangyari yung nangyari noong nakaraang taon. Salamat.
Despite this, Director Gerald Glenn Panganiban of the Department of Agriculture Bureau of Plant Industry reveals that they have received reports of some selling onions for prices ranging from 180 pesos to 200 pesos.
For onions, Director Glenn, tama ba to 140 to 150 lang sa market?
Yes sir, may ganun po on the average, pero meron naman pong nagre-report na sa 180, 200.
May 200 pa nga eh.
Apo sir. But
So,
ano siya sir, limited naman yung ganong reports, but we are closely monitoring it and
yes, and I think on standby, you still have expected na mga imports coming in para just to balance,
Tama po.
Para mabalance lang yung presyo.
Yes, sir.
Meanwhile, Agriculture ASEC Arnel de Mesa confirms a decrease in pork importation due to the rise in local production. Currently, pork prices in Metro Manila range from 240 pesos to 360 pesos per kilo.
But for pork, dahil tumaas din naman po yung ating production, especially this coming fourth quarter, na-offset po ng local production natin, Mr. Chair.
ASEC de Mesa also stated that the rice supply in the country is sufficient until next year. Currently, rice prices range from 33 pesos to 65 pesos per kilo.
For the dry season lean months, which is mid-January to mid-February, we still have ample supply, Mr. Chair. As I mentioned, going into first quarter, our projection is 90 days. Right now, it's 80 days without additional imports. But if Indian rice will come in plus additional imports, ang SPSIC issuance po ng BPI ay marami po. If 50% of that will come, so we can expect more imports coming in.
Meanwhile, concerning the issue of sugar supply, Secretary Laurel revealed that despite high imports and sufficient sugar supply in the country, its price has not yet decreased. Currently, sugar prices in Metro Manila range from 78 pesos to 110 pesos per kilo. The Secretary explains.
Then there's the disparity nga na dapat ang asukal should be around 85 lang, hindi 100. So, we are doing some interventions soon in order to address these problems. But unfortunately, I cannot diverge in public on yung mga interventions na aming gagawin through the efforts of DTI, SRA, and DA.
Congressman Enverga assured that the Congress will continue to focus on the prices of goods and the income of farmers in the Philippines. This likely means more committee meetings in the House in collaboration with the Department of Agriculture to address the food supply situation in the country.
Reporting from the House of Representatives for God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Jayne Codnita,
SMNA News.
SMNI is recognized as Outstanding Global Media and Reporting of the Year 2023 at the 22nd Annual Gawad America Awards, which was held at Hollywood, California. Capitana Carlos reports.
SMNI was awarded as Outstanding Global Media and Reporting of the Year in a prestigious ceremony for prominent individuals excelling in different achievements here at Hollywood, California.
The Gawad America Awards held its 22nd annual ceremony. Many of the awardees were coming from all over the United States and countries, especially the Philippines. SMNI was awarded as Outstanding Global Media and Reporting of the Year 2023.
SMNI is one of the best reporting and global, and we are very proud that they received this award. The most significant of all is that we help other people that are not very successful in life, but we're trying to give them the award so they'll become successful and get motivated, whatever their goal in life. So
the event was also attended by individuals such as Arnel Ignacio, who was also given a recognition for his contribution.
Gawad America Awards hopes to continue in acknowledging and recognizing individuals whose accomplishments and talents have contributed greatly in society. This is Capitana Carlos reporting from Hollywood, California, SMNI News, USA.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte believes that money is the reason why many aspire to become the president of the country. Duterte also criticized politicians who put their faces and names on government projects. Daniela Paulite has the news.
Opportunity to earn a large amount of money. That's what former President Rodrigo Duterte sees as the reason why some people aspire to become the president of the Philippines. This was explained by Duterte in his Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa program with Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy.
Opportunity to amass wealth.
Fear corrupt.
Either legitimate or illegitimate. It's an opportunity wide open for anybody who is enterprising and would want to amass a wealth that would assure the seventh generation of a comfortable life. Wala na, hindi na sila magtrabaho. Ganon yan.
He also revealed that during his administration, he did not allow large transactions where he needed his signature of approval. That's because people would inevitably think that there was money involved in approving large government projects in the country.
And I never allowed itong mga transactions sa gobyerno na magpipirma pa ako, mag-approve. Mga reclamation. Ayaw ko. Ayaw ko talaga. Kasi alam mo, walang maniwala eh. You grant itong mga reclamation, mga multi-billion yan. O walang maniwala na hindi ka tumatanggap ng pera. So para walang masabi, wala akong pirmahan at wala akong kinakausap na negosyante. Never.
According to Pastor Apollo, the Philippines was very fortunate to have been governed by Rodrigo Duterte, who came from Davao City. Pastor Apollo also lauded the former president's honesty when it comes to money and acknowledged that it's inevitable that there are individuals who see the presidency as a mere opportunity to earn a huge amount of money.
Mayor, you know, you are really a rare person in politics. You are a gift to the Filipino people. Kasi yung regular na nakita namin, yun ang sinabi mo na there is that opportunity. But in your case, even when you were in Davao, congressman, nakikita mo lang yung trabaho. Pagkatapos kung anong magawa mo sa trabaho mo yun. Kung anong sweldong tanggapin mo, yun ang sayo. But many others, they see that as an opportunity, as you said.
Meanwhile, the former president criticized politicians who insist on putting their names and faces on government projects. Former President Duterte clarified that these projects should not be named after sitting officials as they are funded by the people.
It's not their money. It's not supposed to be branded around that You're supposed to do it because that's your job. So you do not have to announce to the world that a cost to be built in this. It's natural.
Duterte also emphasized the importance of delicadeza that many politicians lack. The term delicadeza is a Filipino value deeply ingrained in the country's culture. It refers to a sense of decency and appropriateness in an individual's actions.
Marami akong kaibigan ganun.
As if it is their money.
It's a matter of delicadeza kasi. So, delicadeza is something, values. Na pagtingin yung outlook mo sa buhay mo, marami talaga ang nagkulang dyan. Yung anong tamang diskarte.
Meanwhile, it's worth noting that several attempts have been made in Congress to pass a law regarding this or what's called the Anti-EPAL Bill, but it has yet to succeed. Anti-EPAL Bill seeks to prohibit and penalize government officials who post their names and faces on government projects funded with the money of taxpayers. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Daniela Paulite, ASEAN News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. Winning and losing begin in the mind, and your mind is the womb of your faith. And for our Christmas countdown, it's 33 days to go before Christmas. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news update, you may visit ASEANNewsChannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Jayne Codnita. Thank you for watching Newsline World, and thank you to our beloved Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, for the opportunity to be a part of this program. May you continue to listen to ASEAN as it delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news, because ASEAN is your source of credible news.